Hi Ollie, you're right.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, buddy. So first of all, thanks very much for joining me this evening.
My pleasure.
What's life been like for you the last few months in the crazy world that we're living in?
Yeah, I'm obviously initially it was a pain in the ass because everything was stopping and we all got pretty lazy because the gyms weren't there, the sparring partners weren't there. So I had a few weeks of stupidity, just eating and doing not a lot else, as probably everyone else did as well. And then I got bored of that pretty fast. Started running and just getting back into everything and finding people to train me because obviously you could train if you were a pro, but technically most people who are pro trained with aren't pros, you know. So also in MMA, the pro amateur thing's a bit of a grey area, isn't it? Like, there's some great amateurs and some terrible pros. So
Yeah,
it's not always the definition of where you're at in a sport. So everyone thinks they're a pro as well, just because you had a pro fight, which isn't necessarily accurate for a lot of people without sort of shaming anybody. And you know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
So I started running, and I got a few bits of gym equipment for my house that I didn't have. Started training indoors and keeping a sort of a reasonable strength and fitness level. A bit of shadow boxing, a bit of skipping, but no sparring at all. And obviously, I got an offer for a fight on FEN for the title over there against Szymon Bajor, who's a quite a well-respected opponent, and quite high level, and fought around the world in Rising and KSW and different places, and FEN, of course. So I had 2 weeks to get ready for that, and I hadn't really done much other than a bit of running, which is good, but it's not the same as fitness of a fight, obviously. But I looked him up, and even though I only had 2 weeks, and I know he'd been training because he knew he was fighting as well. So obviously he'd been training in his own way in Poland. I don't know how much the lockdown was over there, but he'd been preparing one way or another for a fight. So I knew that obviously brings some problems as well because he can be more in tune with what's coming up than I am at that point, you know. So I had two. So anyway, so I had 2 weeks, which wasn't ideal. But I looked at him, and it was just one of them fights where even though he's a good level, the things he did worked for me. It just sometimes that's not to discredit him really. Sometimes you, as a fighter, you look at another fighter and you think, God, he's made for me. He's made for me. Sometimes you look at a fighter who isn't so good, but you think, oh, he's awkward for me because he just does things in a certain way. So this was a guy that it's almost perfect because he's got a good reputation, a good record. Like his numbers are really good, and for the title as well, which was a bonus off of a loss. I know it was a loss to Anthony Delia on 2 days' notice, which was I guess I like to think I didn't lose too much credibility in that, as much as I didn't do much in the fight. It's tough. He's a tough guy. He's one of the best outside of the UFC, and a very young, up and coming guy. And he's a tough fight on a full camp. I think anyone will find. So 2 days notice. I took it on the Thursday and fought on the Saturday. So it was not a lot you can do to prepare for that really.
yeah. I was actually cage side for that fight in Croatia, and yeah, couldn't believe the amount of. You're a tough guy because lesser men would have been put out a lot earlier. You managed to poke away and keep on going. How hard was it to carry in that fight? Was it a case where eventually the body just couldn't take anymore? What was it like being in that moment?
No, I mean I don't know how well you remember it, but I was actually really enjoying myself.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'm when I'm enjoying myself, the conditioning isn't such a factor. It's strange. If that makes sense. And also, I kind of expected Antti to have obviously better preparation. He did. He's got a great team as well, and he's a great guy. He's always training with Krokop and them guys over there. They're all top level in Croatia, good gyms, ATT Europe over there. Friends of mine as well. So I knew it'd be tough fight any time. But so we came out, and I know for a big guy, he's got a really nice sharp double leg takedown. He gets under and closes the distance really well. So I was sure that he was going to look for a takedown, but initially he rushed me with punches, and one of the first punches cut my eye down here, and actually it was a big cut, a very bloody cut, which was just bad fortune really to get the cut on one of the first ones. But after that, he started looking for takedowns, and he was getting takedowns pretty much when he wanted them. To be fair, I can't really tell it any other way. I wasn't reactive. I was a second behind everything, which is normal in that situation, but it wasn't good enough. And I think once he realised that he could do that, he was getting me down. And also, he's very clever because, as anyone who's sort of had quite a few MMA fights or observed quite a few at least, he doesn't really play the jiu-jitsu game too much on the floor. He's got long arms, long reach. So when he's on top, he doesn't really engage too much close up. because you need someone to engage, to play jiu-jitsu, to use your own sort of game and find that comfort. And where he sort of stays back and keeps his chest up and keeps a good posture, obviously it makes for powerful punches, and you can't really engage them in your game close up and try and look for them sweeps and get to opposition. So no, I wasn't even really hurt apart from the cut. Obviously, I was fine. And actually, funny enough, round 2 started. I think everyone thought I'd be done by round 1, but I'm always trying to fight, regardless of, I don't sort of stop because of the general consensus of where I'm at in the fight. If that makes sense, because obviously I was up against it. But I love that. I love that feeling. Even if you look at my record, some of my losses, when I look at them, are disgusting because I hate them. But they're fights that I wasn't really inspired by. I didn't really excite me. And you look at even a late notice fight against Anthony Zelaya, or even like much more is like late notice against Matt Mitchell in like a few weeks, and it was a great fight because I'm excited by it. So I need the good fights to really bring out the best in me and make me go and do what I can do. So round two we came out. And I just made the point of sort of being sort of lively in my corner and smiling, so he knew I'm still in the game. At least mentally, he still was still in the game. And I think it was a bit of a surprise for him because he had his way with me the first round. And we came out and he threw a few punches, and I just sort of leaned back and made him miss and just jabbed him. It went straight down the middle, and I could see his demeanour change, and he sort of realised that he's still got to make sure he wins this fight. But he got a takedown, maybe 2 more takedowns, and it was just really, it wasn't really a case of me being in trouble, like as far as lots of shots on me, but it was more of a case of the whole. I was getting a bit more tired, and my ability to sort of buck and hip skip and make spaces on top were running out. And when the referee stopped it, it was a good stoppage in the fact that I wasn't doing enough. But you also saw that I just jumped straight back up and said, well done, Anthony. You know what I mean? It was one of them things. It was. I don't accept a loss easily, but I also accept when the decision is how it should be. Yeah. So that was that. So fast forward back to now. So obviously, yeah, that's my little moaning excuses about shit. But Bajor, who's a well-rated guy himself, and probably a bit further down the line than Anthony as far as, I don't know, actually, no, similar sort of like guy, sort of quite a lot of experience, quite a lot of wins. And yeah, I like the fight. So so obviously I went out there. I went out there because we had the quarantine here. So I had 2 weeks notice, and I couldn't bring it. No one would come out.
Yeah.
No one would come with me, so I went out on my own.
You no corner at all or anything like that?
I had some of my Croatian friends that were cornering Igor.
Yeah.
And basically, they cornered Igor, who was fighting before my fight. So also, they were already at the ringside. I just listened to music out back before I fought.
Yeah, wow. So no prep time in the back, no warming up, no getting a sweat on really with the guys.
Shadowed a little bit and just pictured what I wanted to do. And they were already at ringside. They stayed at ringside for my walkout. Which obviously, it doesn't sound ideal, I'm sure, but funny enough, what it did is it sort of put my back against the wall a little bit, which is what I'm saying is like I like them odds. Suddenly it's like, this isn't designed for me to win, and I start like really feeling a bit of excitement, like I'm gonna show you, that sort of mentality, and I knew what to do. I knew what I could catch him with. If funny enough, obviously I knocked him out in 23 seconds with probably one of my second or third punch I threw. But he landed a couple of jabs on me early, and it was like a temple shot. But funny enough, if you, it's a shame I lost him because when I have a fight, even late notice, we write some notes. My coach writes some notes, and we compare notes and like do this, do that. This is a good thing to do. Try not to do this. Simple stuff we talk about, but I wrote it down. And basically, the finishing shot was basically in the notes, which was amazing. It was good. It was great. To a certain extent, it was basically. It doesn't matter. I can say it now. Basically, to take advantage of his lead hand. His lead hand was a little bit weak on the return, and a bit sloppy. So just pop the right hand over the lead hand constantly. And obviously, I didn't expect it to be the first one I did. But when you do the right things, it can happen like that. And especially the heavyweights, it doesn't take too much. And that was the right hand is a punch that I haven't thrown very much in my career. And I look back and think, well, why should I have thrown it more? But it's sometimes probably a story for a lot of heavyweights is that we spar with so many middleweights and welterweights and stuff because there's not the guys to spar with all the time. and we want to be good. We want to be good sparring partners, because if you spar with these people, these sorts of guys lighter than you, you spar stupidly hard all the time. None of them want to spar with you, and they wouldn't want to. But I don't blame them. So what happens is then you end up changing your habits a little bit, and what you do in training, you do in the fight most of the time. I would always say so. It's something them sorts of hard shots, stepping in and being aggressive is something I haven't done as much as I'd like to over the years. But maybe I've got a couple more years to do some more of that.
Yeah. So now you're the FEN heavyweight champion. Are you exclusive with the promotion, or have you got permission to fight elsewhere if you want?
No, I'm not exclusive. I'm not exclusive with them. But I will talk to them when I have opportunities, when I do stuff. I got a good relationship with them. Obviously, I still had a 2-fight deal with KSW as well from December, because we made sure we did 2 fights, because obviously it was hard odds for the first fight. So we'll make sure whatever happens, I get another opportunity. Sorry, I'm trying to get that light out of the way.
No worries, it's fine.
My big head covers up.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So basically, they made a cooperation deal to me to fight in FEN, and obviously I won the title. So now we're talking about maybe fighting in FEN again. For a title defense, it's just a matter of finding the correct opponent who would fight me again for the title, because they haven't got hundreds of heavyweights, and obviously there was talk of me fighting Keita, who fought against Igor, same show as I. But he's been they were quite vocal, not in a bad way, but they're quite vocal about, yeah, are you going to fight us afterwards? Blah, 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 blah. I said, we'll see. I'm not worried to fight. No disrespect. I'm not worried to fight him. I fought anybody that I've ever been asked to fight, and better guys, So I was thinking that would be the end result, but he's gone back to KSW now. So I think he's fighting Andrzejak on KSW.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So it's a good fight. It's a good fight. Tough. He's not looking for he's not looking for easy fights. It's a tough fight. So, but we got to find an opponent on FEN that is worthy of a big event and doing a good 5-rounder. And I'm not interested in just taking on so random. I want a good fight, because, like I said to you earlier, I'm obviously in the second half of my career. I must be in the second half of my career. So I want to have the fights that I don't want to have bad fights. Even if I lost one, I don't want to have a bad fight. I want to have a good fight with a lot to gain, potential to come away from it with more than I went in with. So we'll see what happens there. But I also talked to UAE Warriors. They're good friends of mine over there that I fought twice for the last 2 years, and I'm interested in going back to the UAE and performing out there as well, because I'd like to go out there. Well, obviously I like it anyway, but also I'd like to correct it. So obviously I dropped down to light heavyweight last time, and it wasn't a performance that I'm proud of, and I'd like to go out there as a heavyweight and sort of remind them of at least what I can be in my natural state.
Yeah, I was looking earlier, and UAE Warriors, their next show in September. It's not finalised yet, but it's rumoured to be Charlie Lewis Parry against Fabio Maldonado for their heavyweight title. Are you friends with Chai? I know you fought on similar shows out there and things. Is he a guy that you'd want to fight, or is there already a relationship there where
Me and Chai are cool. We're not like best buddies or anything like that. We know he lived in my town for a little while, and we sparred a little bit, trained a little bit, and when we're together, he's a fun guy to be around. He's cool. So I'm not really looking to fight with Chai, just because I don't think we need to. I don't think it's necessary for us to. But obviously he got to fight Fabio, and so I'm thinking I'm not really looking for the belt or anything over there. It's not such a big deal. I'm not even overly obsessed with belts in general, if I'm honest with you. They're nice to bring home, but and I guarantee you more good fights because you control the division, if you like. But I'm looking for good fights. You could fight. I'd rather fight someone who's going to gain something than just a nobody for a belt, because there's hundreds of belts everywhere. The FEN belt's great. I love having it. And it's sitting here next to me in my room now in its case, and I don't get it out. It is what it is. So no, I'm thinking Chai and Maldonado will be quite an interesting fight, because Chai is obviously undefeated as he is, but he's still got some tests. I think he's definitely got some tests that he hasn't had yet. Yeah. And Maldonado's that guy, isn't he? He's that guy. He's a. If you say he's a journeyman now, no one's told him yet, have they? No one's told him yet. He still comes out and he's durable, and he'll keep throwing them hard shots and then body shots and try and wear you down. I mean, I know he boxed last year. He boxed Michael Hunter in pro boxing, and this year he boxed against and he went the distance with
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. It was another prospect, wasn't it?
Cameroonian guy. The Cameroonian guy who fought Joshua and Chisora.
Yeah.
I want to remember his name now.
I know who you mean, yeah.
Muscly Cameroonian guy.
Yeah.
Who's like a hard guy, and he went a distance with him. So I know he didn't beat him, but what I'm really getting across is that it's a good step. It's a good win because he always upsets the bets, if you like, Maldonado. So it'd be a good fight. And I saw the report that was on the cards. So hopefully that all goes through. And if there's a chance to get on that, I probably would do, because I think that's like 6 or 7 weeks away.
Yeah, I think September 25th. I think. Yeah,
I saw that, and so I don't know, but I'm sort of like getting to the point where I'm training now, like I'm going to fight around that sort of time anyway. I'm trying to get myself in with the people that I need to be around. It's still hard in England because even though gyms are open, you're still not really supposed to grapple, and you're not really supposed to. Obviously, people are, and some people are grappling, but they don't want to make it too public because they're trying to keep a certain image going on. And I understand that, but I'm gonna have to find some people that are doing what I need them to be doing, or I just have to fight someone who doesn't like to go on the floor, doesn't want to take me down, and just do some shit pads.
Yeah. So did you say that KSW used to low you a fight?
Yeah, we got a fight there. We haven't sort of spoke about it. We haven't spoken about it or anything like that. I mean, my interpretation. This isn't from them. This is from me. My interpretation was that when I had my fight in Croatia, that they were going to do a London show in maybe September this year, which obviously not do it now. So obviously normally they'll sort of like, if they got a British fighter with one more fight, they usually keep them on and they'll use them there because it makes sense. Yeah. So obviously they're not doing that now. So it's one of the things with KSW. KSW are good like that as far as when you've got the fights on the deal, you generally will get them fights. It's not like a UFC where we'll give you 10-fight deal, lose one, you're going to go, something like that. And it's nice security. And in the meantime, they might not use you for a little while, but if you go out and get a good win, then you still got to deal with them. They'll use a contract that's already in play and make a new one with someone else, which I respect, because fighters need some security as well to know where they're going.
Yeah. So obviously you're 40 years old now. Are you? You're 40?
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking back in your career, obviously you're pretty experienced now. Are there any big mistakes you think you made earlier on that you would tell your younger self, or you'd walk away from doing? Any big regrets?
Regrets. I wouldn't say any regrets. I don't really like to think of something like that.
Yeah.
But
any fight you took or any decision you made where actually in hindsight you thought actually that wasn't the best thing you should have done?
I'd say there's more regrets as in general, a career in general, but there's certain moments and things that have transpired that I wouldn't like. But there's probably quite a few of them, and even in wins sometimes. But probably the fight there's a couple of losses I spoke about, which are crap losses against people that aren't very good, and obviously I'm just not happy with them being on my record. I wish I hadn't not taken the fight, because I wasn't inspired by it. I shouldn't be doing it. But sometimes when you haven't got much money, you need to make financial decisions that aren't very good ones. The purest decisions are ones when you're financially comfortable and you're just making decisions because you're hungry. And I'm in a good position now. I'm good. So everything I do right now is because I'm hungry for the credibility rather than, I want the money too, but that's just I don't need it. You should fight to get the money, but don't fight because you need the money. I think that's a little difference. But so yeah, probably the fight is against, he's a pal of mine now. But I thought when I fought in the UFC, I fought the Field of Freeze in the UFC.
Yeah.
The pal of mine now, we were lots of mutual respect and a good guy, and I don't take any discredit from having lost to him on my record, but I take a lot of, I'm upset with myself that basically the camp I had, how it went, just basically didn't enable me to train and be in mental shape to fight at all. And it was basically, we came to Vegas for a training camp, but then with another bunch of fighters who I'm not going to name, to do a training camp. But the other fighters were fighting three weeks before my fight, and when they left for their fight, they took all the coaches away.
Yeah.
So the last 3 weeks, it was just me and a couple of friends out there, just training for the biggest fight of my career in LA. Just messing about, and my confidence went through the floor. I wasn't in it. I couldn't win the fight. I wasn't even mentally in a position where I accepted it was possible to win the fight. I actually remember walking to the cage thinking I can't win this fight, which is just it's just terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, not a good place to be in. Yeah.
So that one there, and like I said, I don't want to put it like I'm throwing shade on Phil. It wasn't that. He's a good guy. You know, he's got a lot of talent. So it was more. If I'd lost but been in a position where I could have won, I'd be happier than how it was. And probably one more is the Congo fight.
Yeah.
Because of how Bellator played around before the fight. Obviously, do you know his story?
No, I don't actually know.
Long story short, I've done a few things about it before. And if I go on about it too much, everyone will say, "Oh, listen to that whiny bitch going on about it again."
Yeah.
So I do still whine about it, and I am a whiny bitch about it, but I'm not going to go about it too much now.
Yeah.
But basically, when I took the fight with Congo, I mean, there's a longer story to this as well, because me and Congo were friends. Obviously, we fell out and all stuff like this. But without going too much into that, when they offered me the fight with him, obviously I didn't want to do it because we were friends, but he'd already signed it, so I agreed it. And they said to me also, you're back up to the Mitrione and Fedor fight. So if someone gets injured, you're stepping in. And we actually agreed terms for the Congo, and we agreed bigger terms for if we step in.
Yeah.
And much bigger, so it was significant for me. It was like, Jesus, I wouldn't mind stepping up, and Congo can just get paid and go home. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have been a bad thing because it was good money, very good money for me.
Yeah.
And but obviously the likelihood of it happening is small. But especially the day before the fight, you don't really think it will happen. But comes the morning of the fight, I'm out in San Jose. The morning of the fight, I'm sitting at breakfast, and Rich Chow, who was obviously one of the matchmakers at Bellator, says, "Oli, you got a moment at breakfast?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." But then he tells me he basically makes sure everyone sort of not leaves the room, but gets away to a private. He said, "You spoke to your manager?" I said, "No, not yet, not this morning." And he said, "Oh, can you get him down here?" So I tried to get him. He couldn't get him down here. So he basically my manager was busy. He didn't come down. So he said, "Right, you're fighting Fedor." Like, what? This is fight day. You're fighting Fedor. I said, "Stop it. What are you talking about?" He said, "You're fighting Fedor because Matt's got gold kidneys or gold stones or whatever. I don't know what you call them. You know, he's had to piss out some stones."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, really?" And okay, so I'm excited because I'm main event against Fedor. One way or another, it's going to be exciting. And obviously, that's the sort of thing I'm living for. That Congo's a big fight as well, but I'm living for that. And also, modern day Fedor, is going to just stand there and bang it out, and you're going to have a trade off, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Congo's actually trying to smother you. So which you shouldn't let him do, really, should you? You know he's going to do it. But anyway, that's not that. So I was like, great. How's that working then? Because obviously, and I think, oh yeah, money. Yes, this is good. This is really good. Because they were going to treble my money.
Wow, yeah.
And they said, no, we're not. I said, no, because it's so late notice. We're giving you four times your purse and paying your tax. And bearing in mind, San Jose tax is 40%. When you get paid in San Jose, 40% is already gone before you even get it. Gone. Which, if you don't know that when you get there, it's quite heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was going to be my first 6-figure payday.
Yeah.
Which is massive for me. It'd be massive for me. Massive for most people, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm fighting Fedor, so it's like you can't tell anyone yet because we haven't announced it yet. I was like, okay, no. So me and the team were celebrating, and I'm phoning home, talking to my family like, we're going to be all right. I'm going to have a good fight. And like, say what you want, but I think modern day Fedor, I think I can fight him. I can give him. You know, Maldonado pretty much beat him.
Yeah.
And I think I can, and he's an amazing guy. But I think modern day Fedor, he's very beatable. So I'm like, I can do that. I can do this as well. So I didn't have a win bonus, but but winning would be a bonus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
your record, definitely.
Yeah, amazing. And the main event. I mean, if I main event and beat Fedor, I'll main event the next show, aren't I? That's going to happen. So this is in the morning. So we go to the room, we're celebrating, we're planning, we're watching what he does recently. I mean, you know what he does. We know what he does anyway. He doesn't really grapple very much anymore. Swings in big hooks and then big overhand rights over and over, and they hurt. So it's all set, and we're getting to the point. I think we're like leaving for the venue. We're one of the last leavers to the venue because we're the last fight now. And then we've all planned out. I've been loads of emotion, really happy. It makes my life was going to change as well. You know, my life was going to change. My family life was going to change. A big deal. For hours and hours and hours and hours. it's all definite, it's all definitely happening, it's all sorted. Then just before we leave the hotel, I get a call from my manager. I have spoken to him in the meantime a little bit, but he got a call from the manager. I'll tell you something. What? He said, "You're not fighting Fedor." What? You're not fighting Fedor? Why? Oh, Fedor's decided to just get paid and go home. He's not fighting. I was like, okay, so what am I doing then? You're fighting Congo again? And I mean, it may not seem like a big deal because I was there to fight Congo, but you got to put yourself in a position of that emotion and that roller coaster on the same day you're fighting. Very exhausting, very exhausting. And okay, so how's this going to work money wise? Well, just normal standard contract money. And I'm pissed off. I'm upset. I'm pissed off, and I'm not in a good way about it at all. And I get to the arena, and funny enough, because obviously, Bellator shouldn't have told me anything about it, should they?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have told me anything about it. I shouldn't have even heard about this. I didn't need to. And I was the official reserve. So I get to the arena, and I'm just walking around the arena, and my hood's up. I'm just like, really, I'm red. I'm pissed off and upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, if the fact they kept me on the shelf for 8 months before the fight, if they hadn't done that, I'd have had money and I'd have got to come home.
Yeah.
But that's why they hold you long enough that you're in it. You got. It's smart. It's clever. It's no accident. A lot of things they do, not just Bellator. A lot of people do. If they think they'll keep you long enough where you need to fight, then they'll take the fight you want to take or other stuff like that. Because I would have just flown home if I'm honest. If I had the money, I would have just flown home. Because you can't treat people like that, in my opinion. So I saw Rich Chow at the arena. He said, "Are you ready? Excited?" I said, "No, of course I'm not." Like, what do you mean, bro? I said, "No, I'm fighting Congo again after all that mess earlier on, and you needed to tell me." "Oh, come on, man." I said, "Listen, I'm going to try my best, but I don't want to be here. I don't want to fight." And obviously, fast forward to the fight, I went out. Congo's still a good guy now. He was good. He's been good for a while, and he hasn't really fallen off. He's still dangerous. He knows how to win fights. He knows how to win them. And I was in such good physical shape for the fight, but mentally I was like not in the fight at all, really.
Mm-hmm.
And Congo sort of had his way with me for 15 minutes. And at the end of the fight, I just jump up 15 minutes. I just jump up. I could have done 2 or 3 more rounds. I was never in the fight to win it. And whether I'd have done a better job with him without that mess, I don't know. It's irrelevant, really, because that's the 2 situations where sort of situations and stuff that weren't in my hands. I can tell you about. Obviously, there's other situations like fights that I wasn't inspired by that's in my hands. I have to take responsibility for. But that's sort of 2 that I'd say I wasn't really responsible for. I mean, looking back, I'd probably even without money, I should have just rung home, said, "Someone lend me some money. I'm flying home. I'm flying home," and just gone to the press and said, "Look, Bellator, I've done this and that. It's ridiculous." Because the funny thing about this is, after this fight, so they kept me on the shelf for 8 months between Mitrione and Congo, and after the Congo fight, they knew that obviously I knew what had transpired. They never announced that I was fighting them. They never announced what had happened and what I'd been through that day.
Yeah.
And if it had gone public, it would have looked really bad for them. But obviously, I'm still under contract with them. I still want another fight. I want to make things better. So they keep me on board and don't release me for another 5 months. Pretty much stopping me from really revealing the truth about it. Because if I'm with them, I don't want to upset them too much.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping them happy to get another fight. Because I've fought Matt Mitrione on 3 weeks' notice, and in Congo after that mess. Having a great fight with Matt, where I landed some big shots and could have not stopped anyone else, and the Congo mess. Really, in my mind, I deserved a third fight. Really, so I was sort of hoping to get one, and they weren't releasing me. And 5 months later, when everything had died out and Fedor fought again, then they released me because then now the story isn't relevant.
Yeah.
I released it after that, but it didn't matter anymore. And people listened. I shared someone's interview I did on Twitter, and a few Bellator fans said, "Oh, stop whining, you had two shit fights, blah, blah, blah," this sort of stuff. But I wasn't really defending how good a guy I fought. The point was the behaviour and the goings on. And does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So, like I say, you're 40 years old now. Any kind of idea how much longer you want to do this for? Is there any kind of timeline in your head, or is it kind of just however much longer your body will take it?
No, I mean, it's obviously a legitimate question people ask you, especially when you hit 40. People ask you a lot. I've been asked it today already, actually. Yeah. So, and it's a good question, but a few things I think about it. Number one, I think when someone starts talking about I'm going to retire in this amount of time, I think you kind of half retired.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time then. Maybe that's time then. Maybe that tells me if my opponent says, "Oh, I'm retiring in 6 months," I'm like, yeah, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. And that isn't always the case, but so I'm not ready. I'm not really. Once I do that, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start winding down. I'm not ready to wind down yet. But in reality, the answer I usually give is I wouldn't retire I don't think I need to retire myself. When the performances and results get to the point where no one wants to pay me well to do it, retirement will be natural because no one's going to give me the fight I want.
Yeah.
I haven't taken massive sort of like traumatic. Much as I'm sort of quite tough in fights and take shots, I haven't taken massive traumatic KOs in that. I've had a couple, one maybe two proper KOs in over 10-year career, and a few TKOs. There weren't like just a few cuts and stuff. So I haven't really been battered too much in that way, and I feel good. And the thing is, I can still go with the younger fighters, and I can go to the track and win every race. I can still grapple with the new up and coming like brown and black belts and hold my own on the mat, and my striking still gets better and better at this age I'm at. So I'm still really excited to do some stuff and to fight as long as I can. As long as I can be successful and get paid well for it, because once you stop, you can't go back. You're done. And I got hopefully a long life of not fighting. So I want to try and extend my fighting career first of all.
Yeah. So I guess my last question would be: have you got any dream fights that you think are attainable, and any opponents you want to face, any countries, any promotions you want to fight in, anything which if someone said to you, you could have this many fights, which one would you really want to have?
Yeah. Well, what I don't want is I don't want exclusive contracts with anyone. Unless they're worth loads of money, obviously. Yeah. Then we can talk. All that I don't want are basically revolving around paying me loads of money.
Yeah.
But what I do want is I do want to fight. I'm desperate to fight in Tokyo again because I loved it. I got three fights, 3 wins in IGF in 2015, and I love it out there. I want to go and fight in Rising. I've been calling out for that for a while, but I had a bit of bad form, and maybe that put him off for a little while. Because I thought it was quite a legitimate thing with my success there previously in Tokyo. But obviously Szymon Bajor fought for Rising twice, I think. I just cleaned him out in 20 seconds, so that should be a good sign. And they like big heavy guys, and I'm fighting heavy these days. So one of the main things I want to do is I want to go and fight in Tokyo. And ideally, it would be for Rising or a big show in Rising. I love fighting the ring as well. The ring, I love the ring. But there's lots of things I want to do. I want to fight South America. Would be good to fight South America, but I don't know. That's hard to do. I'm not sure that will happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just don't want to be tied down somewhere. So mainly Rising, and just to have free agency to keep moving about and having fights that I enjoy and fights that are going to be exciting and ones I've got a lot to gain from.
Perfect. It was great talking to you, Oli. Really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best in whatever's coming up over the next few months, and I'm sure we'll catch up again before your next fight.
Look forward to it, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Cheers.